going upstairs?
Yes, sir.
So they played and you did. You played. I'll fix my hair.
Yeah, that's how I know.
Church and softball.
We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Meeting tonight is the Law Enforcement Committee. You should have received an agenda. If you didn't, there's some copies up here if you'd like to pick one up. Got two things on our agenda tonight, one under old business, one under new business. First of all, I'd like to do a roll call. Would you like me to do that? You got it? Okay.
Dwight Jewell.
Here.
Gary Walsh.
Here.
Beverly Atwood. Shane Burton.
Here.
Linda Sue Johnson. Here. Richard Johnson.
Here.
Rachel Jones. Amber Russell. Here. Steve Whitaker.
Here.
Sheriff Russell.
Here. Miss Atwood is in the other meeting upstairs, and she'd asked Miss Baker to act as our secretary tonight. So without objection, I'm sure we're glad for her to do that. The minutes of the previous meeting, which was January 16th, were sent out to you. There again, there's a copy up here if you need to look them over. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions to our minutes from the last meeting? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve? Mr. Johnson makes the motion. Have a second by Ms. Russell. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. They are approved. Thank you. Under old business, we're going to continue our discussion of the jail facilities, and we appreciate Mr. Wall and Mr. Bass with TCI being here, and for Sheriff Russell arranging for them to be here. I think they're going to give us a lot of valuable information to look at and ponder over. And so, Sheriff, do you want to introduce them, or y'all just want to jump in here and start, whatever you want to do?
So this is Bob Bass here, he's with Tennessee Corrections. Their job is to go around and help do partnerships to build jails and get started and do the blueprints, and they do all the classes and training for correction officers across the state.
Okay. And then I think you met the last meeting director. I'm deputy director, and this is Director William Wall. Hey, I want to thank y'all for giving me the opportunity to come down and speak to you tonight. I know you're looking in your jail, and we're going to talk a little bit about your jail and what's going on, and a lot about this partnership. I'm a senior at TCI. I actually had a head full of black hair one time. That's changed over the years. Part of that was sheriffs. Sheriffs will wear you out on the phone. So that make you gray headed. And back in the day, when a county decided that they've got a problem with their jail, that they need to build a new one, maybe it's antiquated, maybe it's overcrowded, it was tough going, but I was involved with those. But it was an army of one. It was maybe me, some attorneys sometimes architects. I'd go to a county commission meeting all by myself. The sheriff would say, boy, go over and tell them I need a jail. Well, that's really not the way to do it, but I'll tell you, I did that 27 times. At one time, I had 7 new jails being built, so I had my hands full. So the way it should be done is a partnership. All the stakeholders should come together. And y'all are the biggest stakeholders. County commissioners have a big say in this, and they need to be informed so you can go out to your constituents and tell them what's going on and why you need a jail and why you need things that you have to have. So that's what this is about. Our director, Beth Ashton, been almost 9 years ago, came to me and said, I want you to develop this. She gave me 4 slides, and I said, okay. She said, well, you're the senior and you've done this, so what's the best way to go about it? So we started a program. I designed it, put things together, and I tell you, it's better than sliced bread. Everybody's informed, everybody's involved, everybody gets to be part of the decision making. It's not just somebody pulling up in a car and saying, I'm with the state and I'm here to help. If they do that, keep both eyes on them, please. or an architect coming in and telling you this is what you need to do. I mean, you need to bring experts in there, and I don't consider myself an expert. Although I have 27 years in the business, I do know where all the landmines are when you're talking about expanding your jail or building a jail. So this is what this is about. We want to offer this to you. It doesn't cost you anything. I'm asking you to put a committee together. Your present law enforcement committee could work for that. You can just change the name of it to, or make this new committee a county correction partnership. You can all be involved in it. I'd like to see judges on it.
That's what I was going to say. You said stakeholders a minute ago.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you referring to
Well,
specifically?
that's a great question, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I'd like to see a judge on this, on this committee, if that's possible. I'd like to see somebody from the public defender's office, if that's possible. Of course, the admin staff and the sheriff's department, the rest can be made up of county commissioners.
Okay.
So they're the real stakeholders that are going to be part of that. So this is all about education based. My job is to help you understand how the jail operates, what the standards are, what the laws are, and why they have to do the things we do. Now, fortunately, I'm an expert witness in federal court, so I've had to go to do that a lot. It's not a lot of fun. There's a lot of jails in the state of Tennessee. The court order. They were built because a federal judge said you're going to do that. So that's what you want to avoid. If your jail gets a 1983 civil action lawsuit, that's a law that was written in 1871, by the way. Been around a long time. And an inmate down there says they violated my rights, we can end up in a federal court lawsuit. And we see that a lot of times if it's an antiquated jail, an overcrowded jail, old jail. We see that. So I'll say this, and he didn't pay me to say this, but your sheriff does a fantastic job. Your staff does a good job of what they got to work with down there. It's clean, it's organized. I walked through it this afternoon, visited with them a little while. Jail kind of reminds me of the one I ran. And you've all seen my jail. We'll do a poll and find out. How many of you saw Walking Tall? Buford Pusser movie.
Which one?
Yeah, I know, there's some video. That was all filmed in my jail. I live in Henderson, Tennessee, Chester County, which butts up to McNairy County. Well, Buford was not the sheriff at the time. He stepped out. And then Hollywood comes along, and McNairy County said, you're not filming down here. Bing Crosby Productions bought the book August 11th, and 12th of August, I'm sorry. And so they came to us and said, can we make the movie here and make this look like Selmer, Tennessee? And we said, yeah, and boy, did we regret it. 4 years, people stayed lost. The town, you pull into our town, the sign said, welcome to Selmer. Everybody was just lost and confused. We liked the money. We did appreciate that. One of the first stakeholders or partners that we partner with is CTASC. I'm sure all of you have had an opportunity to go to their training. Jim Hart is their jail consultant. He apologizes for not being able to be here tonight. He usually comes with us, but he had to do some training up at Knoxville he committed to. So, and he plays a big role in this. And he'll be coming to meetings if you elect to do this. We hope you do. I've already covered it's an education-based program. Cost is free. Here are the participants. So I like to put this slide up because I want everybody to understand you're not in this alone. And then when we start talking about money, there's some counties up there got pretty big bank accounts, right? You can see that, right? Big bank accounts right there. That's a big bank account. That's a pretty good bank account. In fact, they just moved in to their new facility. We worked with them 5 years through the County Correction Partnership. We came up with the answers. We did it. Is it 400 beds?
Yeah.
I've actually got some pictures of their old jail you're going to get to see. So you're not in this alone. Drugs are just destroying the fabric of America, and it's rampant throughout Tennessee. We have a really high incarceration rate compared to other states. In 1991, we had 19,000 people locked up in local jails. In 2019, we got 31,000. That's a big swing in a relatively short amount of time. Somebody asked me if I knew the reason why, and I think it's, we enforce laws. Come to Tennessee, mess up, we're going to put you in jail. That's how it is. So why do we need this? That's a jail. that was operating is no longer operating in Tennessee. This picture is only about 7 years old, but it's that old. That cell's built for 4 people and had 22 females in it. And yeah, the toilet hadn't worked in 5 years. See the cover on it? The reason the jail door's open is because people were sleeping in the hallway. And they're actually having to use, at that time they were using the staff's bathroom. I'm not going to tell you where that's at. I don't want to embarrass anybody. That's a kitchen. That jail no longer exists, but yes, you're looking at mold, and I'm not a mold expert, but I can tell you that's mold. That's mold. So this is a voluntary partnership. You own it. You're in charge of it. I come along as a consultant to help you get it organized, and I start educational classes. You'll see those in a moment. We start doing studies, we do snapshots, we do things for you to help you understand what's going in, happening at the jail, who's in jail and why, and help you plan for the future. If you're not careful, it can be a big misstep. We have jails right now that are 8 years old that they're going to have to add on to. So you go to your constituents, your taxpayers, and say, we want to build a new jail, so it costs this amount of money, and you come back to them in 8 years and you go at them again. Let's get this done right the first time. Let's project out what we need and how long is it going to last. Now you have the option to build for what you need if you want to go to 2030 or 2035 or 2040, but plan for the future. And it can be done in stages. It can be done in phases. So that's what you're just tasked with, upgrading the jail. Now, when we started this, we actually had healthy jails that weren't in trouble wanting our help. They were calling Will and I and say, can we be part of this? Well, yeah, later. Right now, we need to focus on the people that are in trouble. So that's kind of where we've been. So we actually inspect police department jails. Is it 11 or 14?
10.
10, okay, I got closer the first time. One actually operates a full-time jail sheriff at Bartlett, Tennessee, operates an 1129 jail.
In Johnson City.
Johnson City does too. Most of those jails are what we call type 2 or type 3. Type 2 jail means you're going to lock them up for 74 hours. After that, you get a transfer to the county jail. So the law says the sheriff will have a jail. It doesn't say the chief of police will. He doesn't have to have one. I live right next door to Jackson, Tennessee. We closed their jail about 8 years ago when they built the new one. They said, "No, the chief said, I don't need a jail." Got it made, right? Sheriff, if this was like Kentucky and you didn't have a jail to worry about, it'd be a different world. It'd be a whole different world. Yeah, up there they elect the chief jailer. He's an elected official. Sheriff has no authority in that jail. And there you see your county commission, CTAS, MTAS. Tennessee Sheriff Association works with us. Tennessee Corrections Institute is up there as well. So we just develop a program, a venue to work with local facilities, assisting toward and continuing certification. And this is the point I like to talk about certification a little bit. And you're going to find me to be blunt, truthful is the way I like to put it. I just tell it how it is, the way I was raised. You can operate a jail that's not certified. We don't have the authority to do anything but give you certification or not. TCI can't tell you to build a jail, can't tell you where to put a jail. Our authority stops at certification. But is that something you really want to do in this litigated world we have this day and time? So Monday I get a call from an attorney in East Tennessee. It's over. Federal court, judge is going to build a jail. And the county has to do it. If they don't do it, who gets in trouble? Who gets in trouble?
The county.
Who goes to jail? I'm going to tell you.
Sure.
The county commission goes to jail.
Sure.
No.
He knew the answer. He wants the sheriff to go to jail. So it's called contempt of court. It's just simply that. And that's actually almost happened right here in Tennessee where the judge asked him to come to his chambers with blueprints and they didn't have any because they couldn't agree on what to do. And he said, good, well, bailiff, lock county commission up, I'll be back in about a week, I'm going to Florida to play golf. I've never seen a jail written out on a napkin, but they asked for a recess. True story, you can't make this up. Went outside and said, we have a 10-minute recess. And all of a sudden, 21 people agreed on how to build a jail. So, you know, I'm not going to tell you where that happened. Their initials are Green County. So, and there's a federal court right there in the middle of that town. So that's where it happened at. So we work in a good faith effort all together to examine what's going on, look at the habits, look at the trends, look at the statistical data, kind of figure out what are we doing here and what we got. So this is kind of the progress that moves forward. There's a inspection, then we establish the need, and then we initiate. So we know because of your past inspections over the last 3 or 4 years, you're consistently above what you're supposed to have. Sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's okay, maybe 1 or 2. Today you're over. I stopped by there to visit. So the problem is, in your particular case, your jail, you can't classify inmates. You don't have a place to put compatibles with non-compatibles. Here's what the Supreme Court tells us. It is not illegal to overcrowd a jail. Stack them in there like firewood. Do it all day long. There's nothing illegal about that. It's what happens after you do that. So I've got the jaywalker in a cell with somebody that's an axe murderer or a rapist. They get hurt, we're responsible. That's what happens. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but looking at your reports, and I kind of did over the last 4 years, this year, you're going to go under a plan of action to stay certified. Unless a miracle happens and about 20 people get out of that jail between now and then, maybe more. We just don't know. Your physical plant, we refer to as the jail, we call it the physical plant, it's got some real challenges. So let's see what we all know. The original jail was 50-ish model?
56, 57.
Okay. And then about 91 you did an expansion. Was there a study done then, or did we have this program or something like that then, and we just kind of got together and just what we need?
Well, the county commission got together. I think CTAS was involved. I don't think TCI was.
Okay.
CPAS was, I was involved with it back then. I met all, and yeah.
Okay, good. Well, this time we want everybody at the table.
But we were looking out, I think at that time, we were just trying to project out 20 years, if I remember correctly. So that's,
Yeah.
we're there.
Yeah, we're there. Yeah, sounds
Beyond
like
there.
within a year of being there. Yeah. Well, what'll happen? The inspector will come. Then the inspector will contact me and say they're going under a plan of action. And then I would get in my car and come down and do this. This is the great thing about what's happening tonight. I've been invited because y'all are being proactive. Y'all know there's an issue, and how can we fix it? So, hey, that's fantastic. We'll have that up front, right off the bat. When we didn't have this, our Board of Control really scrutinized what counties were doing. But today, the minute you walk in that Board of Control meeting, and they're the ones that certify and non-certify the jail, not the inspectors. They make the recommendation. Board of Control, first thing what they ask me, Director, if they got a CCP. Because if you're not trying to help yourself, you know, and if you've got a CCP, it means that you're being proactive and you're trying to help yourself. And we've had jails 5 and 6 years under a plan of action. There's no limit to it as long as you have measurable progress. Let's just say tonight you decided you had a green site and you decided to build a new jail. I can tell you, you're 3 years away. You're absolutely just 3 years away from it. This takes time, so TCI is willing to work with you. Architecture usually, by the time they start the concept plans, which Will and I work with, and move into shop drawings and then hard drawings, it's a year. It's not something that's done in a small amount of time. So we bring all these people together, we kind of get started. And then I start doing the training. That's me right there. And I want you to know photographs add 25 pounds to you. I just want to point that out.
That's why that guy in front looks so fat.
I'm not gonna say no.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say it. He ran for mayor down there. He was one of the, bless his heart, he got beat, but he did. You know, it's one of those mayoral races that had, good Lord, it probably had about 20 people in it trying to become mayor of Bedford County. So, and that number up there is nowhere near right. It's probably needs to be updated. It's probably closer to 3,000 to 4,000 hours. I travel all 95 counties. And with 31 of these in place, a lot of movement. So this is kind of what I want to do. Look, running a jail, I'm not going to make a misstep like I heard someone the other day made a misstep. Well, they made a big misstep. You know, I grew up on a farm dragging a cotton sack. So he said you just take a piece of corn, put it around, cover it with dirt, and grew corn. You know, there's a lot to it. But let me say this. This ain't rocket science. It ain't rocket science. If we start working together through this committee, you're gonna know as much about that jail down there as people that work there. And you should. My hats are off to county commissioners because y'all have to know so many things, but you're gonna be able to talk the lingo, you're gonna be able to understand. And you need that. You go back in your districts and you talk to your constituents, well, why are y'all even talking about building a jail? Just dig a hole, throw them in there and cover them up. Well, this is why. So classification, standards, patrol procedures, disciplinary boards. A jail has to comply with 431 standards. That's a lot of standards. 431. Correctional standards are based on the Constitution of the United States, the state of Tennessee's Constitution, we have one, and court decisions and laws. We build those standards, you run your jail by that. In essence, what we're saying is you're constitutionally correct. This is what we can do to an inmate, this is what we cannot do to an inmate. And I like to tell people this, Sheriff, I can't fix stupid. There's a lot of that. You know, stupid things happen in jails. Correction officers are human beings too, they make mistakes. 2 years ago in Middle Tennessee, they had a boy in a restraint chair at that jail. They tased him 87 times. And it's on video, and again, see it's on YouTube. And the sheriff was very transparent with it. People got fired. I don't know if they ever brought any other kind of charges against them, but you can't fix stupid. But if you do everything the standards say, you operate your jail the way we ask, there are 14 areas of compliance that are really important, and they go from health, your medical care, food care, all the way to inmate housing and everything in between. So we address everything that says this is how a jail should operate. CTAS does our staffing analysis for us if that's something that needs to be done. We have seen some counties, Mr. Chairman, step out of that and have private entities do those things that cost $150,000. I worked with a county that didn't want to use CTAS for a feasibility study. They did 2 studies. They paid over $300,000 taxpayers' money on that. I just don't recommend it when we have somebody right here in Tennessee that can do that. This is something I'm real proud of that I put together about 3 years ago and started working, and that's how does probation and parole work in your county? I was told this afternoon you operate your probation and parole right in this county. Well, that's fantastic. That means you have an ability to work with the courts and the sheriff's department. But if we need to learn something about that, we can. When you go under that plan of action, it just simply means this: you're going to have to report monthly on what you're doing. You're going to have to show measurable progress. So I developed back in 2012 this manual to help you get that done. So we'll show you how to build those plan of actions, and I'll help you with that. This is the one I had the most fun in. This is a jail transition team. This is actually an 8-hour course, and we break it up into 2 4-hour blocks. You know, moving into a jail is not like moving your house. It's a little bit different. It takes a lot of planning. And I'm not talking about we're going to do it on Sunday at 2 o'clock. This is everything that's got to be done, from moving the paper clips to the warrants to the setting up the housing units. the classification, it's very engrossing. There's a lot involved in it. Robert Kane, years ago, started working with me. He is now, I need to update that slide, he's one of our detention facility managers, and he served as assistant mayor and as a city alderman at the same time. He was a glutton for punishment in his home county. So he put together a real good, we haven't had to use this much. Fortunately, everybody knows the roles, but if they have any questions, we can go back and pull this out, dust it off, and take a look at it. So assessment and management, jail liabilities, training on that, and crisis management. This is why I'm so happy to be here tonight, because y'all are being proactive, but what happens so often, we get a call after they're already underwater. Hey, can you come down here and look at our jail? We got a problem. What's your problem? Well, we hold 300, but we got 700 in here. And I just told a true story, didn't I? I just told you about a jail built for 300 right now. It's got 700 inmates in it, and they're underwater. So they needed some training. They call us and say, well, what do we do? What kind of crisis management training have we got? And we have that. Now this is where I really get involved. This is called a snapshot. So all the things you see there in those bullet points, I do. I come down to your jail, and it's one of the first things I do. You form your committee. As soon as your committee's formed, you tell me. I make an appointment with the jail administrator, the sheriff, and I come down and I spend a day, 2 days, whatever it takes. And I will go through every inmate's file. I'll tell you why the inmate's in there, what their charges are, the average age of the inmate that's in there. I'll tell you what kind of programs you're offering, what your staff level should be or what they look like, how all this relates to budget, what your booking trends, population trends. Where are we at here? 9,000 or 10? We're at 10,000 population countywide. So is that what we're looking for in this new census probably? Okay. What their average length of stay is, warrant statistics. Sheriff, I'm going to put you on the spot, okay? Well, how many outstanding warrants you got right now?
Several hundred. Maybe 1,000.
You got a jail down there hold that many people?
No.
Okay, that's the point I was going
We've
to.
been going through and working on here the last month.
And let's explain this. When he has those warrants, some of those are mailed-in warrants. They come from other counties. Some of these people are totally absconded. They're nowhere around to be found. Some of the people that took those warrants out are no longer interested in even seeing them served. But what's happening, and I don't want to say that's in the case here, because I know Sheriff too well. I've known him for a lot of years. What happens in some counties, they end up in what I call selective law enforcement. Because their jails are so overcrowded, they don't have a place to put anybody. So they look at him and go, well, he's not that nice of a guy, but we got a warrant, we're going to get him. Well, he ain't bothering nobody, leave him alone. That guy right there, he's a troublemaker. We're going to go get him right now. Y'all aren't like that. I'm just smile.
Day of the week it is.
Smile, it's okay. So that's selective law enforcement. And these things make a newspaper when you start talking about overcrowded jail. You got people out there that their full-time profession is spotting steal. You know, I work with the county. You'll find this out too. And it's not even a border county. What I mean by border county, I did a study, some statistics for Shelby County. I've been going down there 20 years. That's the largest jail in the state of Tennessee. It takes up 3 blocks. They go 2,400 to 2,600 inmates. 1,700 correction officers. Big operation. And I told Commercial Appeal, the largest paper there that has the biggest circulation, that's a regional jail. You go pull the numbers in, them people ain't from Memphis, Tennessee. They're from Mississippi and Arkansas. 15 minutes, you can be either state. Right there. And then went back and looked and said, you know what, he's right. The biggest percentage. So I had a Middle Tennessee jail where they have a little town that has nothing. It has a bait store, a gas station, and the jail, and the courthouse. They come off that mountain to come down to their town and start robbing and stealing at Walmart. and get put in jail. So about 60% of the people in their jail are not even the people from their county. Now, we know we're gonna have transients, we know we're gonna have people come by, but this really creates a problem when you have something like that. So I'll do that for you, and I'll have about 60 to 90 hours in that. A report will be put together, and I'll share it with you, and it'll be done on the PowerPoint, and you'll get a copy of it. So, jail construction. What do you do about that? How do you do the request for qualifications? How do you go about this? So I know where all the landmines are. We know how this works. I have a matrix, a property matrix, well, I'll train you on, and it'll be your property. I'll give it to you, and you can actually go look at property and judge where the jail needs to be. And actually, you can do what I call a blind taste test. You can score the. If you had 3 properties to look at, you can score it, not even know who you're voting for, and vote for the best one. That's been a big help to counties. They've never had anything like that before. Just a quick question. How many things you think you need to look for? Let's just say you had a green site, and you went over and looked at the Jones property, and I think I'm going to put my jail here. How many things do you think you have to consider? Now, these are hard fact things you have to consider. What do you think the number is? Well, let me help you. You need water, right? You have water running by that property. You have sewer. And if that sewer ain't there, you're going to have to work something out to get and that plumbing out there. So most people tell me about 10 things. Just about 39.
I was gonna say 50.
Well, but hey, you're thinking in the right way. You got to look at setback zones. You got to look at property grounders.
Zoning.
You got to look at 3-phase wiring. You got to have a retention pond. A new jail now, new construction on law enforcement has to have a retention pond. So there's a lot of things that have to be looked at. So I have a program that takes you through that. What we rely a lot on, University of Tennessee and Jim Hart to do, is staffing analysis. We work with him through the operations reviews. A lot of times I just go into counties that don't want the snapshots. They just want me to look at the physical plan and tell me what's going on, what's wrong. Policy review, the jail design, population projections, jail activity schedule. So we rely on him to do that. Now, I've got 2 PowerPoints, one that has pictures and one that doesn't. You care if I use the one that's got the pictures? That jail was operating 3 years ago. And so what I have to do in my business as an inspector is draw inferences. I call it common sense. But the correction officers are supposed to be checking on the welfare of those inmates every 45 minutes. Going into the cell and see what they're up to. Do you think at that jail they were doing that every 45 minutes? It took 3 hours to put that stuff up on the wall. And where'd they get the stuff to do it with? Ropes hanging up, they tear sheets up. Same jail, no longer exists, thank God. That was built for, I think, if my memory serves me right, about 20 females had 64 in it. What you're looking at is a day room, and it's wall-to-wall human beings trying to sleep. That's a typical shower. Another shot of a kitchen. Now, they're illegal to ask somebody to sleep on the floor. No, that's not illegal. I don't know about the sheriff, but when I find this interesting. Average soul doesn't question things like this until their loved one gets locked up in jail. So let me ask you this. Who's in that jail down there? You know that, ain't you? Who's in it? Who?
Other people's families, kids.
It's people from this town. Somebody's brother, mother, sister. It's your folks. It's your people. And when they come out of there, are they better off than they were? We're going to find out what your recidivism rate is. The director and I were in a facility the other day that runs about 90%. Recidivism is a real fancy, big word. It means it's a revolving door. They come to jail, you're going to see them again. They're coming right back. That's got to be stopped, and programs can do that. You have a challenge there now. You don't even have a place really to conduct programs, do you, Sheriff? It's really difficult.
Never have.
Well, and I'll tell you, my jail was somewhat similar. I did have a pretty good sized room, but yeah, this is a violation of standards. You can't put stuff, you can't paste stuff on the wall. You see that? That is wall to wall, ladies. It's not, you gotta step on somebody to move in there. It had 10 times the people in there it was supposed to have in. Unfortunately, this is when I talk about outside agencies. So there are agencies in the state of Tennessee that can close that jail. This particular jail, they made them cap it. It was designed to have 82 on the day this snapshot, this picture was taken, it had
185.
Yeah, about 185 people. 212, 30% capacity. They're building a new jail, but they're paying other counties to house their inmates right now. Last year they paid out $2.5 million for that.
It was 1.5.
One and a half. Then one the year before. That's where I'm getting, okay, or 7 or 9. That's where I'm getting the number. Okay.
They're all the same family.
You know why I do that?
I see the resemblance.
I'll tell you why I do that. A good friend of mine was doing a presentation like this one time, and County Commissioner's son was in jail. Using the picture, so we don't, we thought, we don't know who's kin to who, so we cover their
That's a
faces.
good way to do it.
You look on the left, this picture is, that's the visitation booth. They're so wall-to-wall inmates, they put the inmates living where you're supposed to come visit. So if they have a visitor, they have to take him and all his stuff out. She's living in the hallway, several women in the hallway. A jail is built and the average lifespan works this way. It ages 4 years for every year of operation. It's open 24/7. Every light's being used, every lock's being turned, every door's being swung. I got rooms in my house I hadn't seen in years. I don't know if there's anything in there yet or not, but I'm sure there's probably some dust in there that needs getting out. But yeah, so how old's your jail? Now we're talking about being 80 years old. It's just the way that's the average. That comes straight out of a sheriff's manual, National Sheriff's Manual. That's their statistics, not Bob's. You overcrowd your jail, it's hard to manage the inmates, and they tear our jail up. And that's what they've done here. They scraped the paint off the showers, they tore the shower up, and they made them a little homemade shower handle. I love this picture because all that residue you're seeing ain't all bacon grease. When that jail was designed, and that jail was built under a federal court order, it no longer exists. They have a new one. That's under cell block Alpha, which is about 38 inmates on top of that. So when those 38 inmates don't get their way, they take pillowcases, sheets, uniforms, and stuff them down in the toilet and clog up the system, and it floods and the sewer backs up and comes down on top of that stove. So when you're talking about jail design, we work closely with the architects. We've all had that training. I've been trained by the National Institute of Corrections, federal government, Department of Justice. We help them with, look, you don't want to design something that's not going to work. It's not going to be practical. You don't do that. I trust you. We have 1,000+ hours in the new facility, don't we? And we're not done yet because there's a lot of post things. They just literally moved in. Look at the old. We see this stuff in older jails. Asbestos, pipes. Oh, he's got a comfortable spot. He's living on the dining table that they eat off of. He has to move if they're going to sit there and eat. The reason down at the bottom that says gun, because that jail border is the city street. Confidential informant told the CID team there's a .38 caliber revolver inside your jail, and it came through that window. And it was. They'd been in that jail for about a week. Inmate was planning to escape and possibly kill a correction officer or anybody else that got this way. He meant business. You can literally walk past the jail downtown at this jail. Here's the sidewalk. Late at night, you can go right up to a window, and they pulled the window and the screen apart, pushed all that back, broke the glass, snuck a gun in. This guy fell out of that hammock when we opened the door. What was funny about that, I mean, they had to pick him up and put him in there, and tore sheets up to do it. But what was really funny was he had some Hot Pockets and Pop-Tarts, and they all fell out too. He was sleeping on them, so it made the rest of the inmates mad because he was holding out on them. What are you paying for mats? $80 to $100? 100? That's a mat. And you can tell that's more than one mat. So I'm pretty sure when this guy gets out of prison that you're going to see that on the shopping channel. Get your prison organizer kit right here, 1995. You know, we don't want them doing that. We're going to charge them for that vandalism. It's tearing up county property. You're probably going to serve more time with catch you. This is such an understaffed, overcrowded jail. They just didn't want to fight that. But I mean, he's got a pretty good thing. But what bothers you about that picture? That being aside, that he's tore our mat up.
Where did you get the needles?
There you go. Thank you. You go to the head of the class. That fool's got an eye for a pair of scissors back here. Somebody's finna get hurt. That's like, how did he do that? He sewed all that stuff together. This is a relatively, well, it's a decade-old jail, but there wasn't any good planning. They have nowhere for storage, so that's actually inmate property out in the hallway that's a part of the egress. You don't do that.
Locked in an elevator.
Lock it in the elevator. You don't do that. What you're seeing is those inmates' pictures on the front of it. Same jail. Our standards say you have to have sight and sound separation between males and females. You're not supposed to be housing juveniles, but you are. They have to be separated too. And in some cases you could, if they've been adjudicated by the court to stand trial as an adult. That's female. In fact, at this facility, the overcrowding is over. New York Post did an article just recently on this facility. Called it, New York Post did, not my words, called it a cesspool. That was the title of the article in New York Post. Because those benches you see down there is where they chain the mentally ill. We're now the keepers, the jails are, and Sheriff, you can jump in here, we're now the keepers of the mental health. National average is about 35% of everyone in that facility is a mental health issue.
That looks like a relatively new facility.
You know when that was built.
80s.
And the wall.
Yeah, it was built in the 80s. They're right now about ready to make their final vote. The architects are meeting with us next week or two. We're going to sign off on the architect plans, and that's coming in somewhere, the amount of beds that they're going to get. A lot of money. Yeah, I don't want, look, I'll just tell you, I'm trying to scare you. This is going to end up being a 700 bed new facility. You're talking about $70 million. We just had one this week. It's not the overcrowding that's illegal, it's what happens after you get in there. And in this Mississippi case, courts called it barbaric what they were doing. They do not have an agency for oversight in Mississippi like Tennessee does, so I get a lot of stories out of Mississippi. They do things different than in Mississippi, trust me. But when this county said we're not going to build a jail, we just can't stand it, we can't afford it, and the federal judge said, well, that's your problem because lack of funds is not a defense. You're going to have to fund it. Not often do inmates get money for these lawsuits when they do in 1983. Usually the edicts or injunctions that are handed down are against the county. There's just not a lot of money awarded, but it does happen. You see this, $70,000 walked out. $70,000 for that inmate. Probably the most famous one is that Arizona where the guy got?
It's New Mexico.
Yeah.
Stephen Slevin.
Slevin, and that was $14 million?
Yeah.
$14 million for a year in jail. They put him in there and just let him go and forgot about him. And it wasn't even that serious of a charge. He had to pull his own teeth. Nearly died. I'm serious, he didn't commit murder. I don't know why they treated him the way they
He's in there
did.
for DUI.
Well, I thought it was a DUI. Never took him to court, got him arraigned. Yeah, judge ruled in his favor. He's probably the largest monetary that was ever done. Punitive damage. Punitive just doesn't normally happen. I worked with Shelby County through their federal case for 11 years. Young man by the name of James Little was brought into the jail. At that time it was overcrowded, understaffed. They had bullpens, they called them. They just put everybody in there. They did not separate compatibles and non-compatibles, holding him ready to book him. Average booking time, Sheriff, was 27 hours. That's before you can get to talk with a judge or a bondsman, or 27 hours. That on the weekend, if there was a Redbird game, they'd have 1,000 people ready to book on Friday night, and they just sit in the floor and wait. They had no place else to handcuff them. They'd sit there in their own human waste. I mean, they wouldn't take a bathroom. They didn't have anybody to do that. He sued because he was raped 7 times that night. 7 times. Most of it he was unconscious for. We asked the chief officer of county what that cost Shelby, and I was floored, but he thinks at the end of it, we're talking right at $1 billion. I didn't say million, it cost taxpayers $1 billion. Now today, Shelby County is a shining light in the state of Tennessee. Of course, federal court helped that. Told them to build a new facility just for women, added 300 beds to that, processing center. $860,000 kitchen had to be added, a new laundry in this facility. Up in Kentucky. I think this is not our county, Tennessee County. 195 locked up, facility designed for 91. You just can't mitigate it. This was November, December's is out there. I haven't had a chance to update it, but this is to give you kind of an idea. In local jails right as of November 30th, and I did look at December, it hadn't changed much. There are 5,102 people waiting to go to TDLC. Local felons, 3,455, but the real interesting fact here is we got 10,591 pretrial felons. Now listen, let me tell you what's going to happen. They're out there in the wings ready to come to the, or stay in your jail. If you're a TDLC inmate and you're in your jail, you got a year less to serve, you're not going to get transferred. And you see the backup, so TDLC's got some issues trying to get folks in the jail. Total jail population, 30,349. That's a lot. Just a little placard I threw up with some of the counties we've had the opportunity to work with. And I enjoy it. It's been fun working. I have a passion for this. And I like to see it done in a manner where you're going to get the results you want. If you don't take each step, you're going to have a misstep. So bringing us on, we'd like to be part of this. We'd love for you to appoint this committee. Once you tell me you've done that, I'll come to the jail and do a snapshot. That'll be the first thing you see. I'll come in, we'll set the date and time. I'll provide everybody with copies of it, but it'll be a PowerPoint. And I can tell you what standards are failing. In the future, we're now in the 2020 inspection cycle. By law, we can't tell you when we're coming to inspect. It's mandated by Tennessee Code Engineering. But looking at your numbers today and the challenges that you have, you're going to end up on plan of action. It'd just be a miracle if you don't. Don't let that scare you, because we're going to have this CCT. Y'all are going to do this, I think. We won't be part of it, and we want to help. And we want everybody to participate, share their ideas, and get a good result. That's what we want. Something's going to last you for a while. So I'll do questions. Any question you got? If I don't know any the answer, I'll make something up. No, I'll try. I'll go get the answer for you.
On the committee, typically who is it appointed by? Is it the mayor, the commission?
Typically the mayor. And remember this, and thank you for prompting this. It's an ad hoc committee. They're not running the sheriff's department. They're not over the sheriff's department's budget. They're not. They're there just like your law enforcement committee. They serve basically the same goal. Is we want to help the sheriff. He needs to bring what needs he has in front and update you and tell you what he needs. That's what it's for. I've had one county in all these years that kind of one committee slid sideways, and all of a sudden they want to run the jail. Yeah, so we can't. Now I'm having to tell people, remember, you're an ad hoc. So how many of you, we're familiar with the word steering committee? Yeah, that's basically what we're doing. So what I'm asking is, when you get this committee together, then let me work with those folks on the committee, educate them, and then let them take their recommendations to the full county commission. However, if those committee members want me to present in the full county commission, we do that all the time. We'd be happy to. So anything is done in that process. But you know what's interesting about this? If let's say the word got out on the street tomorrow, y'all were talking about building the jail.
It's already out.
Well, you got. If you had architects already knocking on your door.
Well, I was at the sheriff's conference a couple weeks ago.
But here they yeah, boy, after
Knocking on our door.
Here they come, and you know, look, we don't do. I'm not going to. I'm not going to violate state rules and policies. So I'm not going to recommend or not recommend. We work with all of them. I've got a lot of experience with architects. I can tell you that there's been a lot of missteps made over the years, and there's payback for that. It really is.
Believe me, we understand.
Well, thank you for letting us be here. Yeah, question?
Yeah. On this committee that you're wanting them to form, usually about how many's on that?
Good question. 7 to 8. How many commissioners do y'all have?
20.
20?
Now, the judges on the committee, does it matter if it's a general sessions or circuit judge?
I like both or either one. It doesn't matter. But general session judges they're kind of the gatekeepers because, yeah, if they're going to have to stay, they're going to get kicked up to circuit. So we actually had a judge was chairman of a committee. One county got a lot done. It was great to have them there. I have one right now with AG as the chairman of the committee. So I don't know how they balance that. They've got so much to do, but they're more than willing to do it. No other questions,
I've got something to add real quick. One of the things that we want to talk about, we know that essentially the physical plant is old, it's overcrowded, and it's problematic. But we want you to understand that the approach has to be not just a building. You cannot, in any circumstance, build your way out of the problem and just keep adding beds and doing that. You're going to have to address it from the idea that, look, we need to implement programs, we need to look at recidivism, we need to do the things to reintegrate people back into society when they're in our custody. Otherwise, you're just going to keep building, and we don't want that. It's a bad day when we come in and go, well, there's not a whole lot you can do. It's time. It's time to move forward with your facility, and with your case, I think the sheriff would echo what I'm about to say, is that it's getting difficult to maintain it. When it's overcrowded, you don't have a place to put someone if you need to, clean the place up, or you need to, paint the walls, or whatever you need to do to help with the problem. So Bob showed you all those pictures to say, this is a worst case scenario. You guys aren't there yet. But what we're looking at is if something isn't done and we're not educated on the process, as you're looking forward to building a facility, you need to think of it in a long-term aspect as far as the building, but also how are we going to change the way that we do things inside the facility to at least say, look, we're addressing the problems when people walk into the facility as needed. Otherwise, just like Bob said, you walk into a 90-95% recidivism rate, you're putting more people, because trust me, the judges that I'm aware of here, they work well with the sheriff. They work well with the DA and the public defender and say, look, we can look at something alternative, but that's still not solving the overcrowding problem. As soon as those beds open up, guess what's going to happen? Those people they've been slapping on the wrist too much, guess where they're going? They're going to the new building. So if we're not addressing it through programs or through a work release or something along those lines to really push forward initiatives to give these people a different outlook on life, then all you're going to do is end up in the same position in 10 to 15 years, where you don't have the beds to do what you need to do. So I just want everyone to think about it. It's not just about the building. It's about kind of the whole mindset. The sheriff doesn't have anywhere to do programs right now.
Will the plan of action that we formulate address that?
Yes, sir. I mean, the plan of action is kind of up to you guys, what you want to include. Now, what we'll do is we'll see what are the driving factors. Ultimately, you run a good facility here. The only thing that we see when we come in here is that the numbers have crept up. In other words, he's meeting every one of those standards that we require. And Trousdale County is doing a great job at meeting all of those standards. The problem is the overcrowding is going to start chipping away at those standards and going, okay, we can't meet this because of the overcrowding. The classification could be a problem. Maintenance is going to start being a problem. And and so what happens is those standards and whatever is related to overcrowding will be a part of your plan of action. But related to programs, absolutely, that can be a driving factor to why you're overcrowded. Because if we had a magic pill to say, oh, just do this and you get rid of this many inmates and shoot, you're back under capacity. The problem we see with jails that are already overcrowded when we start this process is you might be able to reduce the numbers for a short period of time, but they always just jump right back up. It's usually about, when you hit about 85 to 90% of your capacity consistent is when you really need to start looking at some of those things. Because even if you started programs today, it's kind of the same with building a jail. Before you start seeing the results, it's 3 years down the road because you're putting them in programs or getting them in work release or doing whatever you need to do to try to change the mindset of the individuals who are coming to the facility. Now, you're going to have a large population of those inmates. I say large, probably half of them are going to come back. But you know what? The national average on recidivism is between 50 and 60% on how you twist the numbers. But ultimately, that's kind of where you would rather see recidivism than local county jails. And we're seeing it kind of across the board in Tennessee. It's around 80%. And the reasoning being is the physical plant is a big driver of that, because how can you address things when you don't even have a place to have a medical examination and you're trying to bring a church group in or something to help them change the way that they think. Because if we just keep warehousing human beings isn't the answer. That's the best way I can say it. I've been in this business for over 20 years. And the one thing I understand is just warehousing them isn't doing anything to solve the problem. We're just having to build bigger jails. So, not to get huggy-feely, but it's the truth. I've seen it firsthand. So I think it needs to be an approach while you're looking at the new facility, but how are ways that you as a commission can say, look, how are we going to address this problem so in 15 years we're not sitting here in the same room going, we need to add beds.
That jail might suffice for a workhouse, so I like to see options laid out. So if you left that facility, what would we need to do to bring it up to standard? And of course, one of the great things in that case, it's a possibility to be one gender, like a male workhouse. So now you've got a place to put people, that's a program to help them and help them with a re-entry into society. We have several counties that are doing that. They're very, very successful. Interesting factoid for you, unless I'm wrong, you'll be the last of 2 jails that actually are tied together that operated the sheriff used to live in. Clay County and you. Clay County, they did theirs with a wheel tax. They just passed, I think the 30 days is up, so there's going to be a referendum to stop it. And they're moving forward with a new facility that we were a big part of.
In Humphreys.
So that I'm very proud for them.
Well, that's one thing that we've talked about, is the possibility of that, but the thing we're looking for now is information and options.
Sure.
We want to know what our options are. We can do this or we can do that, and we can do it this way or that way. And so I think we're still, I guess you'd say, in a fact-finding mode at this point in time.
And you're going to be in that for a while. And the thing is we're going to try to provide you with as much information this committee is with as much information as we possibly can, so you can make informed decisions.
And I assure you, we appreciate that more than we can ever say. And we really do appreciate y'all being here tonight and your interest in trying to help us. Mayor, did you have anything that you wanted to say along these lines?
I'd just say that the sheriff and I had looked at reentry programs and work release programs. We've actually had companies contact my office and the sheriff as well, willing to take inmates on a work release program, but we don't have the facility to segregate them out so that they're not bringing contraband in or potentially bringing contraband in. So we can't do that. We don't have space to do any kind of classes or anything, so the reentry program is kind of out for right now. But in some of the counties that are doing some of these programs, of the inmates that are participating, the recidivism rate is going from 60% to 6% in one of those facilities. So it's making a huge difference in those jails. So to go forward, we're going to have to go on that, because otherwise our option is to keep building a bigger jail, and eventually that's just not productive.
Keep
Mayor,
every way out.
I've got something. Who says that you have to have a jail to run a work release program? You can run a work release program out of a double wide trailer.
Unless it's an alternative sentence where they're not held under their own, if they can't leave under their own recognizances in a building, then it is a jail by code.
Right, but that's
It's a
what I'm
jail.
saying. You could build a work release center out of a double wide trailer.
It would have to meet those 431 standards we were talking
Okay.
about, and I'm glad you bring this up. This is great conversation.
I've seen it done.
Where?
Tampa, Florida.
Where's
Hillsborough County.
You know what how they do their inspections in Florida? They don't have a standard or regulations down there. They don't have any oversight. So what they do is they run their jails by American Jail Association.
True.
So this sheriff calls his buddy sheriff and says, I'm sending 5 of my people over to inspect your jail. This is true. You can do the research, you Google it. 2 months from now, I want you to send 5 of your people over to inspect mine. We'll submit that documentation to the courts. That's not oversight. So they don't have that. My last count, it was 35 states, but I think that's moved up to about 39. So we get asked that a lot. One of the big myths is Brownsville, Tennessee. I don't live too far from there. They turned a Walmart into a jail. No, they didn't. They built a new jail next to a Walmart. So they have 80,000 square feet, 80,000 square feet of courts and admin offices. The jail has to be constructional grade materials. The glazing has to be constructional grade. We get this all the time. I'm not saying we'll find a building that we can't convert to a jail, but we haven't found it yet. We haven't found it yet. Concrete, the compounds that goes into it, the weight of the cells, the plumbing, the electrical, the smoke, HVACs, all those things involved. It's a lot. So now a program you can, I kind of thought that's what you were talking about at first. So a program, if they just go into that building and come back out, we've been very successful at it. So if they wanted to start a program, you wanted to start a program there. If you could secure that, you're right, they could use an auxiliary building for that. Now we'd want to kind of childproof it a little bit. Sure. You know, I don't want glass that they can just do this and it breaks out and use a shard to hurt somebody with. We actually have a county using one right now, and it was a trailer. It was a FEMA trailer. They had to do a little work to it. That's not where they're housing. They don't sleep there.
Right.
They just come out, and it's behind a security perimeter, a fence. So you're right in that regard, but
And it's not just about jail standards, it's about fire codes. If you're building a building, there's certain fire codes that you have to meet, and all kind of if they can't leave under their own power, at that point the building codes completely change.
I've left
Believe me, I'm familiar with that.
I've left my cards up here, and I think too many handouts. I'm gonna steal about half of them back. That was a lot of work, wasn't it, printing all that up? But this tells you just about everything I covered tonight, what the goals are and how to establish it. So they're there, my email's on there, my phone. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, thank you. Committee, we need to, I guess, decide whether we want to try to move forward with forming a committee, a subcommittee, however we want to do it. And when, whether we want to decide that tonight or future date. Mayor, do you have thoughts on it? I think you would like to see us proceed with it.
I would like to see it proceed on because, as he's already said, we're probably going to be put under a kind of, I guess, a corrective action plan for like, is that correct?
As long as we're working towards something, it'll buy us a little grace. Mr. Walsh,
Make a motion to form a committee.
have a motion, Commissioner Walsh, and a second by Commissioner Johnson to form the committee. Mayor forming the committee.
Yes. His recommendations.
Got that, Ms. Secretary? Okay.
Can those commissioners that would like to volunteer to be on the committee do so?
I would say see the mayor. Commissioner Whitaker, did you have a question?
I was going to say.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, do we have any other discussion on this from the committee members? Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Any opposed? Mayor, can you handle that? Thank you,
Yes,
sir. Okay, that takes care of our old business. Moving into new business, we have review and discuss the Second Amendment Sanctuary County Resolution. This was sent down from the steering committee. I think everybody's had it. Does anybody have any questions about it? Ready to take action on it?
You might just
Motion to,
Sorry.
just clear it a little bit, how on the letter that he had wrote, just clarify it a little bit on exactly. I mean, he done, the governor, he done a letter, right?
Yes. What that was, basically, this started with the Trump administration. No, that was I'm sorry.
Well, we're
Back
just,
up.
yeah, we're just.
That was on the other one. I'm sorry. I really don't understand what you're asking.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
this is just to clarify that we want to actually keep what's already in place with our Second
Pretty much.
Amendment.
What this basically is saying is that we're not going to authorize or appropriate any government funds, resources, or employees for the purpose of assisting any enforcement of any act or law or ordinance against or infringe on the right of the people to keep and bear arms, as described in detail here. It's a. I mean, I don't know how I can make it any,
No, that's fine. That's
yeah,
fine.
simpler, but
Clarify
that's what it is. Okay. Yes, sir.
motion approved.
Have a motion to approve. Second, Ms. Russell. Okay. Got it. And this is just to recommend this to the full body at the next meeting. Commissioner Walsh.
For discussion. When and if we pass this, what teeth is it going to have? Because my understanding is that the commissioner of the county doesn't tell the sheriff how to enforce the law. So even if it's passed, what teeth does that have as far as the sheriff just going ahead and enforcing if they say go take all the guns from the people?
That's a legal question. I can't answer.
Well, the only thing I can say about it, only thing I want to say about it, I took an oath when I came into office. I swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the state of Tennessee, and that's what I'm going to do.
Did that, I'm sorry, I can't answer your question any more than that. Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a rhetorical question, but at the same time,
Its intent is a support resolution, support type resolution, saying this is,
so is it, Sheriff, what's your, Sheriff Russell?
Mhm.
So basically, you'll support for citizens to have their Second Amendment rights at all times, correct?
That's correct. That's what the Constitution says.
Roger that.
okay. Any other discussion? Okay, I'd like for us to just vote by hand instead of ayes and nays. All in favor, please raise your hand. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Any opposed? Any opposed? It is unanimous. It did pass. So we'll send this on, to be on our agenda for next month. Is there any other business? Mayor, you have anything else tonight?
No, sir.
Ms. Wall?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Leave. Thank you. Thank you so much.